Hey guys, here's my presentation on the South Dakota data that we were given to look through. So the first thing we were looking at was what surprised us. So one of the biggest things that stood out to me when looking through this data set was that German was actually the second highest, or actually the first highest, foreign language spoken here in South Dakota. That surprised me a lot. I believe the percentage was 9.7% or so, and it was higher than Spanish, and that surprised me a lot. I work for dispatch and we take a lot of calls, and I have yet to actually hear any German speakers. I've heard actually about 100% of the non-English speakers that we get are Spanish, so that was really surprising to me. The next thing that I was really surprised about in there was in the income section, which was the median household income compared between men and women. So I saw that the income for women was about $38,000 compared to the $51,000 for men, which was a little surprising to me. I know there's a whole lot of discussion about the income inequality between different genders, but most of the people that I'm around are somewhat similar in income wages compared to each other, male and female, so that the difference was a little surprising to me. The next thing that I found that was a little surprising was our domestic production, and one of the biggest earners, and that was our cereal grains. I actually thought that maybe cattle, like meats and stuff, would be actually our highest, and that I don't even think that hit the top three. And so I didn't even know we made cereal grain here. And then the other one was our interstate trade with Minnesota is actually our biggest buyer from us, and I also didn't know that. I guess I didn't ever really think about who we trade with around us, but I think Minnesota was a huge surprise to me. And then moving on to disagreements, I was also looking at the income section and saw that the median income for Pennington County was between $81,000 and $96,000 median, and I would tend to disagree with that. Most people I know, myself included, make less than $50,000 a year. I don't know anyone that makes more than that per se, unless they're maybe like the owner of a business, and even then there's still not nearly that much, so I tend to disagree with that a little bit. And the next thing I was looking at was the education field and the different degrees that people are getting here in South Dakota, and it looks like psychology actually was the biggest degree that's gotten here in South Dakota, but I actually have heard very few people go for that one, and I've actually heard that nursing, which was second, is the most common with SDSU and all the different nursing programs that we have here in the state. I figured nursing would have taken as the top degree. The next one, still in the education field, was at Lake Area Tech. Actually had more degrees given out than Black Hills State University, which is currently where we're all going. That was a huge surprise, and I honestly don't know. I've never even heard of Lake Area Tech, so that was almost like a slight disagree for me. I know obviously it's data, so it's probably accurate, but that almost feels like that's too many, and I've never heard of them before. Next, I was looking at the homeowners and property field. I saw the property value was only about $236,000, which I feel like is a little low for 2023 when this data was collected. I feel like a lot of the homes in the area was worth more than that, and looking at trying to buy a home, everything was minimum $300,000 even 2 years ago almost now, compared to even now where it's still about the same, if not a little more. And then I also saw the home ownership place there at 67%, which I also would disagree with. Most people I know are renting apartments still because of how expensive homes are, so I would tend to disagree with that many people owning a home here in South Dakota. And then the other thing I noticed was the changes. One of the biggest ones is like reassessing the property values and the wage gaps and the wage amounts, because I feel like those aren't entirely accurate anymore. Same with the homeowners. I feel like there's definitely more apartment renters than there are homeowners, so I think that would be good to reassess. And the other thing I saw there that was a big change was how many vehicles per household. I think if I think it looks like the majority was 2 vehicles, but I know a lot of people here have, I know there's a lot of people that have like 6 different vehicles, but only maybe 1 works. So I think seeing how many working vehicles there are compared to just how many that are owned would be a good way to look at that. And then as well as the violent crime, I feel like that one, I think there was like 530 some cases in Pennington County of violent crime, and I think it honestly has gone down a little bit, but I think specific violent acts have definitely increased in their own specific. So I think looking at what kinds of violent crime have been committed would be good as well. But that is my findings on our data, and thank you for listening.